All right, Shalom, which means peace. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, whom the world ignorantly calls God, Bahashem, meaning in the name, Yahweh Shai, who is the one they ignorantly call Jesus. Bahashem, in the name, Rakah, spirit, Kodash, holy. I want to give double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who are the elders of Yashar Allah, which is Israel. And a sincere salutation to all you Akim, which is brothers, and you Akwath, all right, who are of the hopeful elect. All right, so I want to start this lesson off with Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and verse 19. And it reads, "For that which befalleth the sons of men befalleth beasts, even one thing befalleth them. As the one dieth, so dieth the other. Yea, they have all one breath, so that a man hath no preeminence above a beast, for all is vanity." Verse 20, "All go unto one place, all are of the dust, and all turn to dust again. Who knoweth the spirit of man that goeth upward, and the spirit of the beast that goeth downward to the earth?" And I want to go into a lesson, all right, on hell and it not being in the Bible. Hell is not biblical. I'll just say it that way. All right. The hell that is described in the scriptures is not the same hell that's described in Christianity. All right. No one goes to a place where they burn forever. So what I want to do is I want to start off by showing you the proper understanding of judgment according to the Heavenly Father. And then I want to go to the scriptures that they often use to back up this doctrine of hell. All right. So Lord willing, this be edifying. Let's start with Exodus. All right. Because when you look at what the Lord told the children of Israel, all right, he didn't describe a place where they would burn forever. All right. We're going to go straight to it. So this is Exodus chapter 20 and verse 5. And it reads, "Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy power, am a jealous power, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me." All right. And we can also grab this same precept in Numbers chapter 14. And I want to jump down to verse 18. "The Lord is long suffering and of great mercy, forgiving iniquity and transgression, and by no means clearing the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation." Now, when you see that, most people will assume, or they will pose the question, why would the children be punished for the sins of the father? All right. Now let's find out. So we're going to jump to Ezekiel chapter 18, and it'll expound on this more. All right. This is Ezekiel 18 and 3. And it reads, "As I live, saith the Lord power, ye shall not have occasion any more to use this proverb in Israel." Verse 4, "Behold, all souls are mine. As the soul of the Father, so also the soul of the Son is mine. The soul that sinneth, it shall die." So when you look at Exodus, the 20th chapter, the Lord is making a statement that he's going to visit the iniquity of the fathers unto the sons, all right, unto their children in the third and fourth generation. Right here is saying that the soul that sinneth, it shall die. All right, now let's continue. Verse 5 reads, "But if a man be just and do that which is lawful and right, and hath not eaten up the mountains, neither hath lifted up his eyes to the idols of the house of Israel, neither hath defiled his neighbor's wife, neither hath come near to a menstruous woman, and hath not oppressed any, but hath restored to the debtor his pledge, hath spoiled none by violence, hath given his bread to the hungry, and hath covered the naked with a garment, he that hath not given forth upon usury, neither hath taken any increase, that hath withdrawn his hand from iniquity, hath executed true judgment between man and man, hath walked in my statutes, and hath kept my judgments, to deal truly, he is just, he shall surely live, saith the Lord God. If he beget a son that is a robber, a shedder of blood, and that doeth the like to any one of those things, and that doeth not any of those duties, but even hath eaten up the mountains, and defiled his neighbor's wife, hath oppressed the poor and needy, hath spoiled by violence, hath not restored the pledge, and hath lifted up his eyes to the idols, hath committed abomination, hath given forth upon usury, and hath taken increase, shall he then live? He shall not live. He hath done all these abominations. He shall surely die. His blood shall be upon him. Now lo, if he beget a son, that seeth all his father's sins, which he hath done, and considereth, and doeth not such like, that hath not eaten up the mountains, neither hath lifted up his eyes to the idols of the house of Israel, hath not defiled his neighbor's wife, neither hath oppressed any, hath not withholden the pledge, neither hath spoiled by violence, but hath given his bread to the hungry, and hath covered the naked with a garment, that hath taken off his hand from the poor, that hath not received usury nor increase, hath executed my judgments, hath walked in my statutes, he shall not die for the iniquity of his father, he shall surely live. So it's painting a picture, right? It's showing one man, all right, who's withheld himself from sin. It's posing the question if that man had a son and he did the opposite and he was wicked. And then it's showing another side if that wicked man had a son, all right, and he put forth his hand to be righteous. What the Lord is pointing out is that the soul that sinneth, it shall die. So it's painting you a picture, all right? Now continuing, verse 18, as for his father, because he cruelly oppressed, spoiled his brother by violence, and did that which is not good among his people, lo, even he shall die in his iniquity. Yet say ye, why? Doth not the son bear the iniquity of the father? When the son hath done that which is lawful and right, and hath kept all my statutes, and hath done them, he shall surely live. The soul that sinneth, it shall die. The son shall not bear the iniquity of the father, neither shall the father bear the iniquity of the son. The righteousness of the righteous shall be upon him, and the wickedness of the wicked shall be upon him. So when we look at this contrast, and I wanted to go through that entire scenario, because what the Lord is explaining very simply is that, all right, judgment is placed upon the children of the fathers, because those souls that are coming back in the third and fourth generation are their fathers, if you can receive it. This is why the Lord is explicitly said in Exodus, the 20th chapter, that he's going to visit the iniquity. All right, let's get it. Exodus 20:5, thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I, the Lord thy power, am a jealous power, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. So when you look at it from this perspective and understand it properly, judgment, all right, happens upon those spirits that commit those iniquities upon the third and fourth generation when they're born back into the earth. All right. The world in this day and age calls it reincarnation. Now, this is the proper understanding of judgment, and I want to deal with this first before we go to the scriptures that they used to give this hell doctrine that's actually not biblical. All right. Now, I'm going to go from here to I'm going to grab Job 3, and then we'll go into the scriptures that they often use to misinterpret the understanding of hell. All right. This is Job chapter 3, and I will start at verse 11. Why died I not from the womb? Why did I not give up the ghost when I came out of the belly? Why did the knees prevent me, or why the breasts that I should suck? For now should I have lain still and been quiet. I should have slept. Then had I been at rest with kings and counselors of the earth, which built desolate places for themselves, or with princes that had gold, who filled their houses with silver. Or as an hidden untimely birth, I had not been, as infants which never saw light. There the wicked cease from troubling, and there the weary be at rest. So it's showing you here that the same place Job desires to go, the wicked are also there as well. All right. And if that is the case, then who is in hell? All right. I'm going to read that one more time. Job 3:17. There the wicked cease from troubling, and there the weary be at rest. There the prisoners rest together. They hear not the voice of the oppressor. The small and great are there, and the servant is free from his master. So Job is describing, all right, the place that rest and that the wicked go to the same place. All right, they don't go to a place where they burn forever. All right. Now let's go here. Bear with me. All right. This just came up, so I want to grab it. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 12. And I want to jump down to verse 7. You know what? Let's see. Yep. Verse 7 reads, Then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto the Most High, Yahweh Bashim Shai, who gave it. So it doesn't describe a place where spirits go to burn forever. All right. When you look at the scriptures in its total form, without the doctrine of Christianity, it doesn't describe a place where people go to burn forever. All right. Now, I wanted to touch those again, as I said before, all right, through the Spirit to show the proper understanding of judgment in the eyes of the Heavenly Father. All right. When you go into Numbers, the 14th chapter, all right, and we go back to verse 18, it reads, The Lord is long suffering and of great mercy. There would be no great mercy in having souls go to one place to burn forever for one lifetime, if you let Christianity tell you. Because if you let the narrative of Christianity dictate how you understand judgment, they'll tell you that everyone is born once into the earth, and how they live determines where they're going to spend the rest of their eternity. So one lifetime determines how you'll spend the rest of eternity, if you believe the Christian narrative. But if you actually believe the Bible as it is written, all right, you are born into this earth through your third and fourth generation on your father's line. And in that lifetime, you receive your judgments for what you've done. All right. You don't go somewhere where you burn forever. All right. This is why I wanted to touch those two subjects first and foremost before we move on to the scriptures that they really misinterpret. All right. So let's start with one of the main ones. All right. Let's start with Mark. All right. So this is Mark chapter 9, and I'm going to jump down to it. Mark chapter 9, and let's start at 42. And whosoever shall offend one of these little ones that believe in me, it is better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, and he were cast into the sea. And if thy hand offend thee, cut it off. It is better for thee to enter into life maimed than having two hands to go into hell, into the fire that never shall be quenched. All right, where their worm dieth not, and the fire is not quenched. So they use this scripture here, all right, to highlight the belief that there's an eternal hell where people go and they burn forever. All right, because this scripture says the worm dieth not, and the fire is not quenched. Now, what Yahweh Shai is mentioning, all right, goes back to Isaiah chapter 66. All right, and let's go to, the point is in 24. So let's just grab it. Yeah, that'll fix it. Isaiah 66 and 24. And they shall go forth and look upon the carcasses of the men that have transgressed against me. For their worm shall not die, neither shall their fire be quenched. And they shall be an abhorring unto all flesh. All right. So when you look at this, it says the fire shall not be quenched. And most people take that to mean that the fire is just going to burn forever in some hell in a spiritual dimension. All right. And it will never be quenched. Now let's go into the Hebrew word for quenched. All right. The Hebrew word for quenched is kabah. Kabah. All right. And it says to quench, put out, be quenched, to be extinguished. All right. Because when you understand this precept properly, basically what the Lord is saying is no one's going to be able to stop this judgment. All right. That fire that will not be quenched that's mentioned in Mark, the 9th chapter, as well as Isaiah 66. It means that no one's going to be able to get in between that judgment. All right. Now, how do we know that? Let's find out. How do we know that? Now, again, we just touched the word for quenched. All right. And it's kabah. All right. Kabah. Now, this word is also mentioned in another place. All right, let's go to Jeremiah chapter 17. And I want to jump down to verse 26. And they shall come from the cities of Judah and from the palaces and from the places about Jerusalem and from the land of Benjamin and from the plain and from the mountains and from the south, bringing burnt offerings and sacrifices and meat offerings and incense, and bringing sacrifices of praise unto the house of the Lord. Verse 27. But if ye will not hearken unto me to hallow the Sabbath day, and not to bear a burden, even entering in at the gates of Jerusalem on the Sabbath day, then will I kindle a fire in the gates thereof, and it shall devour the palaces, the palaces of Jerusalem, and it shall not be quenched. All right. So again, that same word is being used. All right. Again, it's kabah. All right. Speaking on the palaces not being quenched. All right. Now let's go to another place that quenched is mentioned. All right. With the same word. Now, 2 Kings chapter 22 and verse 17 reads, you know what? Let's start at 16. Thus saith the Lord, behold, I will bring evil upon this place and upon the inhabitants thereof, even all the words of the book which the king of Judah hath read, because they have forsaken me and have burned incense unto other gods, that they might provoke me to anger with all the works of their hands. Therefore my wrath shall be kindled against this place, and shall not be quenched. All right. But to the king of Judah, which sent you to inquire of the Lord, thus shall ye say to him, thus saith the Lord power of Israel, as touching the words which thou hast heard. So in verse 17, the Lord said, his wrath shall be kindled against this place and shall not be quenched. All right. And this is, now we understand that the Lord said that he's not going to retain anger forever. So when he says quenched, it will not be quenched. It doesn't mean that his anger, his wrath is going to be kindled forever. All right. It means that no one's going to be able to stop it. No one's going to be able to get in between it. Thus the Lord has spoken it. Once the Lord has made his mind up and that judgment is that judgment, no one's going to be able to get in between it and quench that. That's the proper understanding of the fire that shall not be quenched. All right. It's not to say that it's going to just burn forever and you're going to go to a dimension where you just burn forever. All right. Even when you go back to the precept in Jeremiah 17 and 27, it says again, but if ye will not hearken unto me to hallow the Sabbath and not to bear a burden, even entering in at the gates of Jerusalem on the Sabbath day, then will I kindle a fire in the gates thereof, and it shall devour the palaces of Jerusalem, and it shall not be quenched. All right. So the Lord is pointing out that the fire will not be stopped. You're not going to be able to get in between it. All right. Because we understand, all right, that the Lord is not going to retain his anger forever. All right. Matter of fact, let's get that. Let's show that. All right. Isaiah 54 and 8. And it reads, in a little wrath I hid my face from thee for a moment, but with everlasting kindness will I have mercy on thee, saith the Lord thy Redeemer. All right, so when you go to Isaiah 66 and you go down back to this verse where it says, all right, neither shall their fire be quenched. It doesn't mean that their bodies are just going to burn forever. It means no one's going to be able to get in between that judgment. All right. Now let's deal with another part of this. All right. Because it also talks about for the worm shall not die. All right. And that worm is also mentioned in Mark. All right. So let's go here. Let's go to Mark, the 9th chapter. I'm going to jump back down to 48 because this is one of those scriptures they use to back up this doctrine of hell, all right, which is false. All right, Mark 9 and 47. And if thine eye offend thee, pluck it out. It is better for thee to enter into the kingdom of God with one eye than having two eyes to be cast into hell fire, where their worm dieth not, and the fire is not quenched. All right. So we dealt with quenched, right? And again, you have to understand that quenched just means that there's not going to be anyone to stop that judgment. All right. This is 2nd Esdras 16, and I'll just get the point. 2nd Esdras 16 and 3. A sword is sent upon you, and who may turn it back? A fire is sent among you, and who may quench it? All right. And the fire is likened unto the Lord's judgments. Nobody's going to be able to get in the way of that. Now, when you deal with that fire that's described in the scriptures, all right, it's dealing with the nuclear destruction of this place. All right. As it reads in Zechariah, let's go to it. And then I'll get back to the point. But I want to segue into this. That fire that we're hearing about described in the scriptures, all right, is this. All right, let's go. So this is Zechariah 14 and 12. And it reads, and this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. And it shall come to pass in that day that a great tumult from the Lord shall be among them, and they shall lay hold every one on the hand of his neighbor, and his hand shall rise up against the hand of his neighbor. So that fire that's being described, all right, that lake of fire, all right, is the nuclear destruction. All right, and also the fire from the chariots. All right, so let's deal with the worm not dying, okay? So back to the point of the lesson, or one of the points, I should say. 9 and 48 again reads, where their worm dieth not, and the fire is not quenched. So we've dealt with the fire not being quenched, meaning no one's going to be able to stop the judgment of the Heavenly Father, all right, on those who are appointed to that judgment. All right, now let's deal with the worm that dieth not, which is also mentioned in Isaiah 66. All right, so Isaiah 66 and 24 reads, and they shall go forth and look upon the carcasses of the men that have transgressed against me, for their worm shall not die, neither shall their fire be quenched, and they shall be an abhorring unto all flesh. Now, when we deal with not dying, all right, let's go to Judges. Let's go to the blue letter first. And we're going to go to Isaiah 66. And let's look at this in the Hebrew. All right, so Isaiah 66. And in the Hebrew, where it says, their worm shall not die. All right, that's la'ah, which is no or not. And die is mat. To die, kill, have one executed. To die, to perish. To die prematurely. All right. To kill, to put to death, to dispatch. To kill, put to death, to be killed. to be put to death, to die prematurely. All right, now keep that in mind, because I'm just going to say it through the Spirit. When you deal with the worms that shall not die, it's dealing with, there's not going to be anybody to save those bodies from being consumed to the point of completion. And what do I mean by that is, in modern day, right, if somebody died, the maggots will begin to grow in their body, and somebody may come around and they may clean the body up and give that body a proper burial. But in this case, these bodies are going to be stretched forth, and there's going to be no one to hinder it. So the worms are not going to die off. They're not going to be cut off or prevented from consuming those bodies almost to completion. All right. Now, how do we know that? All right. Let's get some precepts. All right. Let's go to. So this is Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 26. No, I'll start at 25. The Lord shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies. Thou shalt go out one way against them, and flee 7 ways before them, and shall be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. Verse 26. And thy carcass shall be meat unto all fowls of the air, and unto the beast of the earth, and no man shall fray them away. All right, so when you see the worm shall not die, all right, it means that there's going to be no one to prevent those worms from completely consuming, all right, whatever those maggots or those worms take hold to. All right, another verse is Jeremiah chapter 7. I want to jump down to verse 33. All right, and it reads, I'll start at 32. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that it shall no more be called Tophet, nor the valley of the son of Hinnom, but the valley of slaughter. For they shall bury in Tophet till there be no place. And the carcass of this people shall be meat for the fowls of the heaven, and for the beast of the earth, and none shall fray them away. All right, so when you look at the worms shall not die, it's saying that no one is going to be able to prevent those worms from completely consuming whatever they take hold of. And again, we've dealt with this, right? Because it didn't say everlasting. All right. It just said that it's not going to die. It's not going to be prematurely killed. All right. It's not going to be put to death. It just says that it's not. All right. Now, if we're dealing with everlasting, that's something that's completely different. And the scriptures don't describe these worms as being everlasting. All right. Because the Hebrew word for everlasting is awalam. All right. And let's get an example of that. All right. This is Judges chapter 2 and 1. And it reads, and an angel of the Lord came up from Gilgad to Bochum and said, I made you to go up out of Egypt and have brought you into the land which I swear unto your fathers. And I said, I will never break my covenant with you. Now, if we go here to never, all right, it's alam or awalam. Awalam. All right, and it says long duration, antiquity, futurity, forever, ever, everlasting, evermore, perpetual, old, ancient world. All right. So this is not what the same word is not being used in Isaiah 66 to describe those worms. All right. It's a different word entirely. And really what it just means is it's parabolic to mean that there's not going to be anyone to bury these bodies. All right. Matter of fact, let's get that precept as well. All right, let's go here. This is, I believe it's in Jeremiah. Yep. This is Jeremiah 25 and 33. And the slain of the Lord shall be at that day from one end of the earth, even unto the other end of the earth. They shall not be lamented, neither gathered, nor buried. They shall be dung upon the ground. So when you look at Isaiah 66, what it's really telling you is that there's going to be nobody to prevent these maggots from completely consuming bodies. All right. And this fire, this judgment that the Lord is sending forth, there's going to be no one to stop it or get in between it. All right. Because again, that word for not dying, it just means that the worms won't prematurely be taken out. They won't be interrupted from consuming that flesh. Because the word everlasting is not used in Isaiah 66 to describe those worms. All right. Now, let me see if I got anything else through the Spirit. Yeah. So let's deal with this. Because again, hell is not described as a place where you go and burn forever. All right. So we've dealt with the fire not being quenched. All right. And the worm not dying. All right. We can also deal with, before I go on to that, let's deal with Matthew 25 and 41. All right. Because this is one of the scriptures they also use. Matthew 25 and 41 reads, "Then shall he say also unto them on the left hand, Depart from me, ye cursed, into everlasting fire, prepared for the devil and his angels." Now, this is one of those scriptures they use as well to say that the fire is a place, dimension that you go and you burn there forever. You're consumed forever. All right. Souls don't have bodies, but whatever. You're consumed forever in this dimension. Now, again, keep in mind, Matthew 25 and 41. Let's look at everlasting. All right. Everlasting is this.
Strong's G 166. Ionios. Ionios.
All right. And it says, without beginning and end, that which always has been and always will be, without beginning, without end, never to cease, everlasting. Now, you may stop there and say, whoa, okay, this fire doesn't stop, so it must be talking about hell. Well, let's find out. All right. Now, we just looked at that Greek word. Now, let's go to another place where that Greek word is also used. This is Jude, verse 7. All right. And it reads, let's start up. Verse 6 reads, "And the angels which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, he hath reserved in everlasting chains under darkness unto the judgment of the great day, even as Sodom and Gomorrah, and the cities about them in like manner, giving themselves over to fornication and going after strange flesh, are set forth for an example, suffering the vengeance of eternal fire." Now, Sodom and Gomorrah is not still on fire. So why is Jude using eternal fire to describe it? All right, because that fire was from the Heavenly Father. All right, and as we go down and we look at eternal, it's the same word. All right, without beginning and end, that which always has been and always will be, without beginning, without end, never to cease, everlasting. So Jude is describing the fire that hit Sodom and Gomorrah using the same word that Yahweh Shai used for the everlasting fire of the judgment. Now, we started off by showing what the proper understanding of judgment from the Heavenly Father is. It's not a place where people go and burn forever. But this lake of fire that's being described is going to be this nuclear destruction, if you can receive it. All right? Because from an aerial view, if you look down at a place that was consumed with missiles, it would look like a lake of fire. All right, when you deal with the amount of missiles that are going to be used in this coming judgment, as well as the flames or fire, all right, the lasers, all right, from the chariots, all of that combined, all right, is going to create here in Babylon the Great, which is America, is going to create a lake of fire. But the lake of fire is not describing a place where people die and burn forever. How do we know that? All right, let's go to Revelation chapter 20 and verse 14. Let's start at 13. "And the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them, and they were judged every man according to their works." So I thought if you went to hell, you were already judged. Verse 14 reads, And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. So it shows you clearly that the lake of fire and hell are separate. Because again, it says, and death and hell were cast into the lake of fire, which is describing that curse, that judgment that goes before the earth in Zechariah, the 14th chapter and the 12th verse. And this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. So when we go to Revelation chapter 20, and we go back to verse 14, it says, and death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. So it's describing that fire that's going to consume, all right? That consuming fire, but it's not describing a place where people go and burn forever. All right? Because it clearly says hell and death were cast into the lake of fire. All right, let's go to another precept. This is the prayer of Azariah. I'm going to jump down to verse 66. You know what? Let's start up a little bit. Let's start at 65. And it reads, O ye holy and humble men of heart, bless ye the Lord, praise and exalt him above all forever. O Ananias, Azarias, and Misael, bless ye the Lord, praise and exalt him above all forever. For he hath delivered us from hell, and saved us from the hand of death, and delivered us out of the midst of the furnace and burning flame, even out of the midst of the fire hath he delivered us. So here it is. This scripture is describing that oven that they were put into, all right, as hell, which shows you that hell, from a biblical understanding, is not the same hell that Christianity gives people, of this place where they eternally die, all right, where they eternally burn, I should say. Let's go to Jonah. All right, this is Jonah 2:2, and it reads, and said, you know what, let me start at 1. Then Jonah prayed unto the Lord his power out of the fish's belly, and said, I cried by reason of mine affliction unto the Lord, and he heard me. Out of the belly of hell cried I, and thou heardest my voice. All right, because hell is actually a condition. All right, it's not a dimension. It's a condition that you experience on earth. All right, let's go to the words of King David. This is Psalms 139 and 7. Whither shall I go from thy spirit? Or whither shall I flee from thy presence? If I ascend up into heaven, thou art there. If I make my bed in hell, behold, thou art there. All right, because hell, when you go into the actual definition of it, let's go to it. We go to the Hebrew word for hell. Let's go to, because they also use this to say that hell is the absence of the presence of the Lord, right? They say that a lot. All right, but it's clearly King David know what he's talking about. All right, and he's saying, whither shall I go from thy spirit, or whither shall I flee from thy presence? So he's saying, if I made my bed in hell, the Lord would be there, which debunks the Christian doctrine that hell is a dimension where it's the absence of the Lord's presence. Now, we've shown without a shadow of a doubt through the Spirit, all right, that hell is not a place where you go and burn forever. And the scriptures that they use to say that, all right, have been misunderstood. All right. And people fail to realize that the scriptures are written in a form that's very parabolic, with a lot of imagery, with a hint of poetry, if you will, to describe the will of the Heavenly Father when you deal with prophecy. That's why the prophecies are written in dark parables for most people to stumble upon and to be broken. but for the elect to understand through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shai. All right, now again, let's just get the Hebrew word for hell, and then I'll wrap it up. So hell is Sha'al, and it says underworld, grave, hell, pit. The underworld, all right, Sheol, the abode of the dead. So it's basically the grave, all right? That's what it is. It's the grave. All right, so I just want to go through that through the spirit. I want to be as thorough as I could, as efficient as I could through the spirit to bring that out, to show first and foremost the judgment, how the Heavenly Father actually deals with judgment. All right, not these vain interpretations that Christianity has really gave people as a racket just to make money. When you deal with the origin of hell, all right, going back to Catholicism, all right, it's really a doctrine that was created to scare people and basically extortion. All right, and that's really another topic for another day through the spirit, that if it be in the Lord's will, I may go into the history of hell and how it was originated dealing with the church. Because our forefathers didn't have the same kind of understanding of hell that the world has today. We understood the spirit of reincarnation. We understood that. Now, how do I know that? All right, through the spirit. Let's find out. Let's go to the words of the disciples. Let me see. This is on the fly, so bear with me. Yeah, let me just search it here. Yeah, the Wadi Habashim Shah. All right. Let me see here. This is Matthew chapter 16 and verse 13. When Yahushua came into the coast of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, saying, "Whom do men say that I, the Son of Man, am?" And they said, "Some say that thou art John the Baptist." Now, Christianity will tell you that our people always believe that you died one time, you lived one time, you died, and you either went to hell or heaven. So why are the people, all right, not even the disciples of the Lord, but the people in general, all right, that were in the land of Judea at the time, why are they saying that they think he's John the Baptist? All right, then it says some Elias, which goes back to Elijah, and others Jeremias, which goes back to Jeremiah, or one of the prophets. Why would the people of Judea say that? Keep in mind, this is the circumcision. This is the ones who kept the law, statutes, and commandments and the customs of our forefathers, all right, in the land of Judea. So they had an understanding of the scriptures that Christianity has completely removed from the mainstream, I would say. Because they already understood that people come back. Just like they understood the prophecy of Elijah coming back in the last days. All right, that's the point on that. So with that, I'll give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who are the elders of Yashar Allah, and a sincere salutation to all you Akim, who are preaching this word and believing this word, and to the Akwath, who are believing this word in all truth and in sincerity. Shalom.